everyone, I'm Stephanie, producer and senior video editor at Cap Soup. Welcome back to the Watching Now podcast, and today we are headed to the Big Apple and breaking down season 4 of Only Murders in the Building.
Woo!
Yes, we've got a wonderful group here today. We've got the one and only Iain, Michelle,
Howdy.
and Tyson. So let's dive in, because there was a lot that happened yesterday. I have a lot of questions for season 5 and what's going to happen, but it was nice to be back in the Arconia. Yeah, what did you guys think of the season 4?
So it started slow for me. I didn't love it at first.
Okay.
I actually didn't really like it until episode 6, which really sucks because it's a long time to get into a show. I just didn't like where it was going. It felt like it didn't know where it was going for a long time until then it was like, oh, now we're actually solving another case. And I appreciated that. So when it got going, it was good. And I ended up really liking the last few episodes.
Yeah, I feel like it was a weird season after. I think there was a lot of stuff that they needed to connect to. Even the whole Loretta and Oliver thing, I felt like was a little weird. Because I was like, oh yeah, I'm happy for Oliver, but Loretta is suddenly now in LA and we have to go to LA, and visit her.
Can I just say
also a movie.
I love Oliver's dip into crazy when it comes to a relationship. That was fun.
The stalker,
so
anxious attachment style thing.
I liked how she said it there at the end when he's like, well, when you add it up like that, and he's like, a stalker and a catfisher and a crazy. I think you're just a little bit crazy.
Yeah, poor Oliver. Oh my goodness.
Ian.
Poor Loretta, actually.
Right.
She's trying to live her life, start her career. She's finally made it. Oh my gosh.
They both crazy. They both match each other's crazy. Yeah, I had no problem with that. I mean, I was like, Ollie, don't do that. But also,
yeah,
they
I will admit,
know what each other are like.
Yeah, when they did first show her, I was like, oh, Death Becomes Her. Are we sure that's Loretta? She looks too glam. She looked like she popped out of Death Becomes Her. Meryl Streep looked like Meryl Streep. I was
weird,
right?
Oh wow. I misinterpret pigtail braids. I was like, where are those?
I really liked this series. I liked it more than last series, and I think that's because it was more Arconia focused. Last season was very. I didn't really care who the guy. I mean, Ben Gadboy. I can't remember his actual surname. The original Paul Rudd character. I didn't really care about him that much because he wasn't anything. He was just introduced in the post credits of season 2. This season, I cared a lot more about the mystery from the start because I liked Sazz. Sazz was a great character, and because of that, we got to find loads more new, really good characters in the Arconia. And because it was Arconia focused, I think I enjoyed this one a lot more than last season.
I think you may have just touched on something that maybe is the reason I wasn't sure of it, because usually they just focus on the victim and their surroundings, but this one was everywhere, and Sazz actually got a little lost for me. The purpose of what they were doing got a little lost because all of the focus went on to Dudnoff. So I think maybe that's why I was kind of it's just kind of everywhere.
I get that, but the clues led to the Dudnoff apartment and the Westies, so they had to sort of do a double feature mystery at the same time. So I still quite liked it, and even though the Westies are new characters that we don't know, they're still within the Arconia limits. So I was fine, yeah, great.
Yeah, I hope they stick around because I really liked the Westies and what they brought, and I mean, I'm sure they will because I guess Mabel's living over there now, so
yeah.
So they'll probably come around. maybe what's his name will have no longer an obsession with Christmas, so we don't have to see the Christmas sweaters all the time.
Right.
Kumail Nanjiani, I don't remember his character's name, but I love him. As an actor, when
Yeah.
he showed up, I was like, yay!
They were an interesting bunch. That was
Yeah, they
actually,
were.
it was nice to see a less polished version of the Arconia, and it's like this whole
Well, they're
other
only paying
side.
$200 a month for rent. They're gonna be.
I would
New
love
York?
that rent.
Yeah.
In New York or here.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think, I don't know who my favorite was. It'd probably be either the family that's always making sauce, always stirring, or, see, I can't even remember their names. I just know
Eye
Eye
Patch.
Patch Guy.
Yeah.
Eye Patch Guy,
He's
yeah.
great.
His
Vince
conjunctivitis
Fish.
that switches eyes.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Disgusting.
My
That'd be
favorite
so
role of
gross.
that actor's, I can't remember the actor's name, but was in A Bug's
Richard
Life.
Kind.
He was Hopper's brother or whatever. Yeah.
Oh.
How would you know that?
Mind blown.
I recognize his voice.
Oh, he's
IMDb?
got a Gilbert Gottfried type voice, hasn't
Mm.
he?
He
You
does.
recognize
Yeah.
that voice
Yeah.
from anywhere.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Richard Kind, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You're right.
So I feel like we have a lot to discuss, but maybe let's dive in maybe more into like the spoilery conversation, just so we can
Mhm.
not walk around on tiptoes, because there was a lot that happened. 4 murders and a wedding.
The wedding was adorable. We
So,
can get into that later though, because it's super
Yeah.
spoilery.
Oh, that's the opposite way around, isn't it? And you were doing the bit, right? Yeah, okay. I got it. I got it.
Good job, Ian.
Thanks.
You got the bit.
I got the bit.
So we started off with Sazz's murder, and I remember in the first episode I was so annoyed that they were just walking around the crime scene, and I'm like, Sazz is dead. Come on, guys. Sazz is dead. There's a bullet hole in the window. Like, you think you haven't noticed it? I was like, come on, guys. I was like, poor Sazz. Like, I didn't realize how much I cared for that character until she was gone.
No,
Like-
Sazz is amazing.
Mhm.
She was. Oh my gosh. But that was so annoying. It took 2 episodes, I think, right? For them to finally figure out. Yeah.
Don't you appreciate, though, I did a little bit, like you said before the show, like the dramatic irony of like, oh, they didn't just immediately, oh, here's our new murder, let's get into it. I think it had the right effect by annoying the audience, including Stephanie, of like, she died right there, come on.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it also felt weird. They didn't feel like they were recording a podcast. Like, they were kind of like just on their phone randomly throughout the season, which I also thought was a little weird.
It wasn't until really the end, again, when they were like, let's have a closure, let's talk into the phone and stuff. Yeah, I agree with that.
Cinema.
I also like this murder actually had ties to one of our main characters more. I mean, yes, season 1 did, you know, but this was the heart of the series, really, was Charles being very like, oh, my stunt double that I've worked with intimately for years, she's gone, and the guilt he felt there. It's a little more impactful than, oh, this person down the hall died.
Yeah. So do you guys think that because they didn't have those group recording session moments, then we didn't get as much? They focused too much on like cameos and like other characters this year rather than the core group.
I think so. I think they
that's what
like
it seemed like.
Set thing that they wanted to like meet, a goal to meet each episode, and they're like, okay, let's do this. Let's focus on the movie. There's a movie being made. Like, there's so many different story points that I do feel like the whole main point of the show was the podcast. And you know, how do we know that they're like, you see the murder board and I'm like, okay, is that just the podcast now? Like, that's all we're getting to.
Yeah, and there were like 4 variations of the murder board, and then there was the murder wall, and then
and then the actors murder board wall as well. Yeah.
I do really feel like this season, compared to other seasons, it was really different. But like you said, Ian, it was nice to be back in the Arconia, because I did like season 3. Like, so far, that's been my favorite season. But it was nice to be back and more grounded in a way. I mean, even though we were traveling a lot throughout this season, that and like the more intimate setting of focusing on Sazz's murder, and it did feel a little bit more personable and maybe even like tearjerkery, like, ooh, we're here for the drama. Like, this is really sad to watch him like struggle.
Yeah, and that was a centralized point of this season too, right? Was his like emotional capacity, kind of. Because the end when he's trying to suppress breathing and suppressing and just organizing, like that was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
I want to Steve Martin and Martin Short's comedy came out this season.
It did.
It was brilliant.
I'm still laughing about the table read, and he's like talking about the numbers, and he's like, let me write it down on a piece of paper for 400, 4,000, 4,000,000, or whatever it was like. And he just like, and just the whole like getting it across the table, like it's just it's so favorite. Simple.
Sliding his entire body going across this ginormous table. This old man.
Ridiculous. So it was nice, like even him and like, you know, this is like from last night, but even him and Martin Short standing on the exterior of the building,
the ledge,
the leg shuffle thing.
It was nice to see the two of them be able to act a lot more together this season, because I do feel like Mabel's nice, but she is kind of
a straight
like the
man
anchor, almost
neutral.
Yeah.
You know.
Which I love her in that role. I think it highlights the two wacky old guys even more. It like highlights their comedy even more. I've said this before, but if Selena Gomez was trying to like out Waka Waka those two comedy legends, it wouldn't have worked. But her being like, you guys, you know, the straight man, it highlighted everyone, and she made me laugh in that role as well.
I laughed out loud a few times this season, like actually chuckled out loud. And the body humor, the thing that you don't really get anymore, and what some people may not appreciate, is the body humor that Steve Martin and Martin Short are able to do, like the ledge thing, or like him maneuvering his body, trying to suppress all of these emotions. And like, that is just classic and legendary just humor from them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Step, shuffle, step, slide, step, slide. And then you get a full crotch shot through the window. It's great.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And just
Which is what we're all here
like
for.
this, like you were saying, like the suppressed anger, like coming out, and he's like knocking like the cup placemats around, and then or even when Eugene Levy is playing with the omelets, which, by the way, okay, we didn't talk about them yet, but there were a lot of celebrity cameos this season because there was making the movie. So you had Eva Longoria, Zach Galifianakis, and Eugene Levy,
and so many more.
There were a lot more too.
Oh my god!
And then celebrities playing other characters, but these guys were playing themselves, which was fun.
Like, which was also kind of interesting to see, like, and Eugene Levy's great because he's worked with Steve Martin and Martin Short for like forever.
Right.
And then you've got like Zach Galifianakis, and I got annoyed with Eva Longoria a little bit, but you know, that's
when Steve Martin meets Zach Galifianakis and doesn't know who he is and trying to portray like he does, that was a highlight of the series for me. It's like, you got Molly Shannon, like Zach Galifianakis. Yes, how are you?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I know what you're doing. You're between two fernsing me. He's like, what are you talking about? And
I have to say,
he knows who he is, and he goes like, Macaulay Culkin, what have they done to you? I lost it. So funny.
Loved those characters. I actually really didn't like them very often in the character. You know, I got annoyed with Eva Longoria as well. But their story arc in this entire season was awesome. They came out to be super cool. They were super fun. They're still assholes, and I still don't really like them. But the way they were written was just really good. I really appreciated it.
They were assholes.
And they did very well at it.
No, I don't know if I totally agree that they were assholes.
I'm with you there too, Ian. I don't think they were like Eva Longoria at first. I was like, "What are you doing? You're screwing up this whole thing." But then it worked. So Give her props
Yeah,
there.
the hearts were in the right place in most places. Maybe not Zach Galifianakis, who just was out for himself at the start, but at the end.
But he came around too, yeah.
He came around. Yeah.
He also got shot, in the belly, so it's,
yeah.
Got shot in my fat.
He shot me in my fat.
That was funny. I loved their episode where they're like, actors, we're detectives. We study characters, and they saw all these plot holes when they did their own board. I was like, that's smart, because good actors, they really do deep dive and try to figure shit out.
But did you notice that they left one of the plot holes open? The dog, the one that they brought up. They're like, who poisoned the dog? And then they just left it open.
I wanted to say
it's
that.
Hilarious to me.
There was no way that the Westies poisoned that dog.
But I just thought it was kind of clever because they're like, oh, there's this plot hole. And then they opened it back up and they just didn't finish it. So they're reopening it.
Yeah, they keep on coming back to that.
They, as well. Yeah.
The notes, poisoning the dog. I feel like there was another one. Like, in my mind, always goes back to Jan. Note. I'm like, is it Jan? Did Jan do all this? Like,
no, it wasn't Jan though, because Jan got a note. Jan was one of the note receivers, wasn't she?
Unless she's, like, she has like a double personality, like multiple personality disorder, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that I."
I think multiple personalities in movies and stuff is played over to death.
Yeah.
Saying the guy who has a movie he's trying to make called The Many Lives of Chuck Valentine about a man with multiple personalities. That's the joke.
Rewinded and rewatched the Zach Galifianakis and Martin Short scene there towards the end when he calls him a freaking bologna loaf. Listen. You sweet little bologna loaf. And you can tell both of them were trying not to lose it. That's why I rewatched it, because they were both trying not to crack. And he couldn't think of anything else to say except bologna loaf. That's like my new favorite compliment.
I rewatched out of all episodes, and the scene I rewatched was Melissa McCarthy. When Molly Shannon, she's drunk as the producer coming in, like, movies are dumb, actors are dumb, and then she leaves, and it's in Melissa McCarthy's house. And Melissa's like, the fuck was that woman? I lost it. The funniest delivery I've seen in, like, comedy in general, just like a highlight of the entire show. That clip, her delivery, made me laugh so hard. Just, the fuck was that woman?
Yes, right. I will. Oh my gosh. Right. I do think that was like the pivotal episode because up until that point, I was just there was a lot of loose ends and things being thrown at us. And that was a hilarious episode. All the dolls were terrifying. And the fact that there was life-size dolls, I'm like, heck no.
I loved it
when like Loretta.
When Martin Short was like, oh, so you replaced all your kids with dolls? And she's like, I have never made that connection. Ma'am, can you please go to therapy and not make it vodka and Crystal Light?
Her drinks and her hitting on Oliver. Oh my gosh.
And then fighting Meryl.
Yeah, who would have thought? I never
eat your braids. I don't
know why you eating your braids. Oh my God. Why are you eating your braids?
As I was watching this, because the writing is great in this series, but also I know Melissa McCarthy and other actors in the show are very good improvisers. So especially the eat your braids and stuff, I was like, I think that was Melissa. I think that was on the day of the shot. I think
probably.
And could have been, the fuck was that woman? That could have been improvised as well. Who knows?
Yeah. What did you think about the storyline this season? So you had Paul Rudd come back as Glenn Stubbins, the stunt double. So there was a lot of focus on like the stuntmen groups and the whole Hollywood setting, which I think was really interesting because you have, I guess Oliver's never really been in Hollywood. He says he's done stuff in Hollywood, but like having...
that's one of my favorite interactions with Zach Galifianakis. Galifianakis this season, where Oliver explains that most of his stories are bullshit and just how to get one across.
They start with the kernel of truth, or they could
exactly.
have.
And you go from there.
Yeah, someone who you're surprised is still alive, but is still alive. And a weird setting, and something that could be true, but may not be true.
Yes.
In the 1980s or 70s.
I want someone to do a compilation of every time that Martin Short does his
little
like
snort.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it freaks me out.
I don't know if I could listen to that more than once.
No.
I feel like it would start to be like, oh no, I can't.
Okay.
My ears. Oh my gosh.
And then the very last episode where Galifianakis does it, and I think Eva Longoria calls him out. I was like, did you have to do that snort? Like, well, he does it.
He does it.
You're right.
That's what he does.
He does it. Yeah, I do
Sorry,
think
I
the
derailed.
storyline.
Yeah, I
no,
forgot
you're
your original
good.
question.
But as far as like, because there was a lot that unfolded this season, so I'm curious as to what your guys' thoughts were on the season as a whole, as far as the narrative goes. Like, do you think it tracked? Do you think it did what it needed to do, or do you feel like there's some stuff missing? Or
I loved it. Just me trying to break into the movie biz. I loved all the behind the scenes stuff. Even from, what was it, episode 1 or episode 2, where they have the party for the movie launch or whatever. I remember being like upset by that. I was like, I know how hard it is to raise even a penny for a movie, and you guys are wasting money on a stupid party with champagne and stuff like that. And all the other, like, it might have been this last episode where it showed, or the second to last, where Sazz does the flip off the building for Brazos, and on the street they got a huge fan up there that they didn't use for the shot. Like, all these kind of like funny, they poked a lot at the behind the scenes political movie biz stuff, and I appreciated that. I thought it was fun. Last season they did a lot with theater, and I'm not as familiar with that. I didn't know about the patter song because I'm not a theater aficionado, but then the movie stuff, I'm like, oh, this is fun. I get those behind the scenes things that you're poking fun at.
I enjoyed the plot of the season. It was all about Sazz for me. It wasn't about anyone else. Like the murders right at the end. I'm assuming you mean Mr. Stubbins and the actual killer.
I actually forgot you
Marshall.
mentioned it just now.
The writer guy. Rex Bailey or whatever his name is, or the other name that he went by. Yeah. Dudenoff was a little bit of a distraction, but like it all fed into the plot at the same time.
Yeah.
Because
it wasn't entirely a MacGuffin. Yeah.
No, at the start, he was being red herringed as the murderer, so they had to go over to the Westies. And then the Westies were being headed to the murder, so they had to sort of figure out what happened to Dudenoff. It's a little bit of a side quest maybe, but it was all in service of trying to work out who killed Sazz, and that's what I cared about. I thought mostly they stayed on task with that, and once they figured out that Sazz was dead, and I enjoyed that.
I think it got a little lost twice. One is that Stuntman bar, because I actually forgot about it, which I know introduced us to Glenn Stubbins or whoever, but I enjoyed it, but it didn't really have a big part in it, I think. And it was kind of filler, I guess, for me. And then the other thing that I was thinking of was the Helga character. I completely understand, like, everything is wrapped in a bow. It's nice and done. But I didn't really care that much about them to have that emotional pull. Because I appreciated Dudenoff, like all the Westies saying, well, he moved to Portugal. Obviously, that's going to sound like they murdered him. But it actually was him just saying, tell everybody I moved to Portugal, keep living here, and just burn my body. Like, okay, cool. I don't really care that much about Helga to be like, no. You know what I mean?
You poor thing. Yeah. The whole Dudenoff dying thing, though, was like, I was like so how did this all go down? Because he's like, oh, I took prescriptions, like pills before this.
Yeah, he took a
And
ton
I'm
of
like,
pills.
I was like, alrighty. I was like, please don't show us that. And then I was like thinking, because he had a camera, I was like, oh god, did he film him like being thrown into this incinerator? Like, I was
Right.
like, how crazy was this? But that whole thing too was weird because, like this whole entire season, I thought there was something up with the Westies, and then I felt a little let down when it was just
they're doing his bidding.
They're doing his bidding, and he's he's in Portugal, and then they bring back Helga, and they bring back Helga, and I'm like, oh, that's it? Like, okay, so we can like them, alrighty then. But then I like when the murderer is living in the Arconia. Like, I feel like that's kind of, it brings it back a little bit, and so I felt like that was a little weird too, like that the main murderer this season, the writer Marshall Pope, like, he was just some random dude, had nothing to do. Yeah. He was, I felt like a random plot point, and then like the other thing, like going back to the whole movie aspect of this, like the brothers, sisters, they were a weird bunch. I thought they were guilty. Like I had so many guesses and I was wrong about everybody.
Yeah,
I think we're weird though.
Either. Yeah. The brothers sisters were weird. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about them. And then the bringing in Ron Howard, which I thought it was super cool, and with the shoes. Ron Howard. Yeah, the shoe connection I thought was kind of cool. The only thing about Marshall that I appreciated, or who turned out to be the killer in this season, was we did get some of Sazz's background. That's the only reason I kind of liked it and appreciated it, because you got to delve more into Sazz as the investigation kept going. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I love the shot when they're in her apartment in the finale, and he's standing in the archway by the front door, and she's in the dining room at the table, like, and it was just so perfectly framed. I was like, ooh, like I love that.
And I loved her apartment. Job. Yeah, she did such a good job of being sad. Yeah, and being disappointed in him. And I think, I could be wrong on this, interwebs, I think that is the same house from Lucifer. That is the therapist's house that she shares with Amenadiel, I think.
Oh my god.
Because it has very similar, the way it comes down with all wrought iron stairs, and then it goes up into the dining room, and it sits down into the living. I think it's the same house.
I did not catch that.
Look it up.
Yeah. Yeah,
please.
I don't know how you look something up like that. Yeah. I'll look it up, but I'm not sure how.
Was there a favorite moment you guys had from the season at all? Like one of your favorite?
Oh, I already shared it. It was, the fuck was that woman? I don't know what that delivery was. So funny.
I think mine was the step slide on the ledge, man.
That was pretty great.
Oh,
freaking hilarious.
Step slide. I'm just like, how could they not hear that? And then walking by the windows, I was like, oh my gosh. But I like the fact that they didn't have to walk super far. Although that would have been kind of funny to hear them for like 3 minutes, just like.
And then it's like when they're like knocking on the window and he's busy at the door, like, yeah, because he's not going to hear you guys opening the window.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think
there was
one of. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Steph. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of my favorite moments was when they were trying early on to figure out, okay, like they realized it couldn't just be like one person who had done it, but they're like, no, like it has to be like, and so Steve Martin's
and Oliver tried.
is like trying to do this. So Oliver's like, yeah, he's trying to prove he's fit, he's healthy.
Yeah.
He's man enough.
It's not like a half hour or 2 hours or something.
The whole time in his little outfit. And then it's like he's standing on the window. They're like, "Oh, I need help," and they're like, "Okay." And so they bring him down. But just the fact when he came back in to Charles' apartment, and the feather in the hair, and it's like he's seen things.
How am I doing?
It's been 38 minutes.
What?
Like, you don't want to know what happened to the bird. Like,
I think one of my favorite moments was the reappearance of Jan the first time.
Oh my gosh. In the closet.
In the closet, yeah. And then Steve Martin just being freaked out, but also weirdly calm about everything as well.
His statement there at the end when he was like, I don't understand how you make all of that sound arousing or something like that. She's talking about like murdering people, and he's like, somehow you just make words sound arousing.
He's got problems. He's got real big problems.
He does. Major.
It's that bassoon, man. The bassoon just does it for him.
It does.
Are you telling us something, Ian?
Band girls are hot. Michelle, band girls are hot.
Yeah, agreed.
I just love the fact she was wandering around just in the walls.
She stayed there,
the Arconia. I would have loved like a bonus scene of that just at the very end, like of her just in it, and she's like, "Oh, I owe you $8 for your I forget what it was now.
Whatever she ate."
She's
like, "You've been in the closet the whole time," and he's like, or she's like, well, and the secret passageways. Oh, okay, cool.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
I really liked that reveal at the end when everyone thought that like they were goners. I know we didn't because there's going to be a new series, but
I thought he was going to jump. I thought he was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jan was a nice curveball.
It was like just a shot, and then like, oh no, Jan. Yeah. She got revenge for Sazz. That's great. Yes, well done, Jan.
Yes. Although seeing Charles with Eva Longoria's invention, that was pretty.
Yeah, it was great.
You
like
have it on
3 seconds can kill you. Oh.
Was anybody else hoping that Big Mike, Melissa McCarthy's husband, was another big cameo? I was kind of hoping he would be, because he wasn't really on screen much, I was hoping he would just be like a face real quick and be some other random cameo.
Yeah. I was hoping it was going to be her real life husband. Like, I was like, oh, because they always are cute together. Like,
I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Is that the guy on Bridesmaids? No,
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the one she's
in
with all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised too at the amount of cameos this season, because like third season, like that's when they really started to beef it up a little bit. Because like the first season, you had Sting, and then
Scott Bakula was my favorite.
Oh my god,
cameo.
That was so good. Yeah, and then Tia Leone at the very end. Like, I was like, this is interesting.
That's definitely not going to be a cameo, is it? It's going to be
she's playing someone named Sophia Caccimello. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, the one that that is trying to hire them, basically.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, clearly that's going to be in the next season.
Season 5, yeah.
What do you think that is then? I mean, I got mob vibes. Like old-timey crime family vibes.
And
which would
Charles
be
was attracted to her, so she must have issues. And
which would be
she matches. Like, just saying.
Yes. Which would actually be a really fun little plot twist, though, if it was like mafia and mob related, because that opens a door into like several episodes and several seasons.
I need more flashbacks. I need more Arconia flashbacks, and I feel like with Lester, because he's been there for so long, we're gonna get like more of a history. Because I loved when they were talking about the secret passageways and that secret elevator that was randomly
and Steve
like,
Martin's dad and stuff.
Yeah, like all that stuff was really interesting, and so I like focusing on the Arconia as a character, like because it really is.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
But
like most of the standard Arconia residents took a little bit of a backseat this year, apart from the cranky lady. The cranky lady. I really want
who thought she saw a roach.
Yeah, it was so great. Why did they invite her to the wedding? I guess. I
would assume she invited herself, because you can't tell her no.
I mean, it's in my building. She's like, might as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like a flashback to see what has made her so cranky as well. Like, just like because
we kind of got that a little bit.
She's been there for a while.
A little bit, but
The one
she was
friend.
also a hoarder. I would like that to come back up again because or klepto, whatever. A klepto hoarder.
I like that Selena Gomez asked for gut milk in Charles or in Oliver's apartment. She's like, "Do you know if he has any gut milk?"
Whatever happened to her? The lady who was
gone. They all took a backseat, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of people, and also like the incinerator. I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was in the building. Like, obviously it is, but like, you're going to all these new places.
But it's just open access for anybody to get to.
Yeah, no problem.
Apart from Howard, Howard was the only person really that was at the forefront.
I love him too.
I think I felt sorry for Howard. Like, he just gets told what to do by people.
Howard.
Yeah.
He has been such a consistent character.
He's a great character. And I like that he's in the intro now, like ever since the other character died, and now he's replaced her in the intro cards. So he's always like walking like different things.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
I loved that in the opening credits, like he was walking the cats and dogs until he got the pig. And then he was just walking the pig. And then when the pig went back to the girl, Howard went back to walking the cats and dogs again. Yeah.
I will admit, I sometimes fast forward through the I skip the intro
I was going to say I missed all this, so I didn't see it.
And then I'm like always bummed because I'm like, oh my god, they have so much fun with these. Like, I'm like, I shouldn't skip these. Like, so I go back and watch them because I'm like, okay, I need to see what happened.
It's like when Steve Martin was like, "Oh, your name is Helga. I assumed you would have a club and a tooth." And Oliver's like, "Please ignore him."
He's probably
those two's relationship. It like harkens on their actual friendship and collaboration for years.
Oh man, when they were sitting there at the Chinese restaurant and waiting for, they weren't waiting for Ron Howard, but Ron Howard just ended up coming in. And he's like, "What about the A-list?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to look at the menu until this awkward moment passes. Goodbye."
Yes.
I think that bit in that episode was one of my favorites in this season, where Steve Martin, not a funny bit, it was a heartbreaking bit where Steve Martin like pours his heart out to Ollie. He's just lost Sazz, his other best friend, and he thinks he's losing Ollie to Loretta, and he's just going like, "I can't die alone, Ollie. I just can't."
I know.
Yeah.
It was. And when they put the menus above their face so they didn't have to see each other when they were pouring out their hearts out to each other, it was lovely.
I think that's a great example of, I think that subsequent seasons after season 1, because I think everyone remembers like, oh, this show is so funny. Season 2 is so funny. 3 is funny. If they would have just said like, oh, people like how funny this show is, they would have just really tried to amp up the humor throughout subsequent seasons. And I think that can be a problem, because if they don't have heartwarming scenes or like sad scenes or, any of this other stuff, the comedy isn't as good. I think if it's just all comedy all the time, like if you have the heartwarming stuff, they actually amplify each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you definitely need the balance. Which I think that's also probably too why the Dudenoff storyline was so, like it was needed, I think, to kind of really kind of ground everything a little bit more and add to that, because that was such like a heartbreaking, like I love that actor too. Like he's so he's so good. He was great in This Is Us. That's like what I mainly knew him from first. I don't know, I feel like other seasons didn't really have that. So yeah, like I keep on coming back to that. I liked Sazz. I liked Dudenoff. Like I have no idea. And Lester, poor Lester. Like,
poor Lester.
Lester didn't deserve it.
Did you guys predict him dying? Like, did you, when you saw like the blood in the fountain, did you have like any idea? Because obviously it was going to end with a murder.
Actually, when I saw the blood in the fountain, I thought there was somebody got killed and then put in like a water tank or something.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he would actually be in the fountain. I thought it was just going to be spitting blood, essentially, and everybody was going to be like, whoa, what happened? And then you'd get some big reveal. Yeah.
I would have liked that a little bit more, because then when they had the blood coming out of like that little tiny spigot in the fountain, I was like, ooh, the water's been tainted with something, and you're like, okay. But then you see poor Lester, and that was brutal. Like, he was soaked. And I'm like, what happened? Like, because I went into the episode thinking that, okay, Loretta's gonna die. I was like, Meryl Streep doesn't normally do sequels, so I was surprised she stayed around for season 4.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, they're obviously gonna kill her. And like, I kept on waiting for that to happen. Like, she was wearing white for her wedding, so I was like, ooh, whenever someone's wearing white, like, that's like always the trope that person's gonna die. Nothing happened. And then she gets in the car and drives away, and I'm like, okay. And it can't be Martin Short or Steve Martin. Like, that would just be like a big knee to the storyline. So I was expecting somebody from the Hollywood production.
I think I had an inkling. I just because less. It's always good to say in hindsight that I had an inkling that it might have been Lester, but he wasn't. They do these things a lot of times when like a beloved character gets blown off and it's sort of been mean to. It's the last thing, or he's about to go into a story that might be relevant. He might not be relevant, but and Steve Martin goes, "I don't do anecdotes."
I love that line.
See you later.
I told you when I moved in, I don't do anecdotes.
He was only
instead
in
of saying,
for
"I got to save my friend," he said, "I don't do anecdotes."
I get it, but like, he was only in for like 10, 20 seconds and didn't do anything else. And he's such a good character that everyone likes to see. It felt like maybe an omen.
I do think somebody just mentioned it. I think Molly Shannon would have been a good victim because then you would have thought, oh, well, this is easy. She was just an asshole to everybody and was stealing money. But it could have gone a little deeper. So that would have been neat too.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the deeper route. Like, I feel like emotionally, like, it does bring it back to the Arconia, which then story-wise, I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen next season? Because
that's true.
Loretta, I mean, I guess Loretta could always come back. Like, she's in New Zealand temporary in between seasons. And then Oliver's still there. But yeah, it's kind of a weird setup for next season. There was a lot of different little things. And I'm like, okay, are we going to stick with the mob route? Because she does give mob vibes. There's a lot of weird things. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing it kind of set up, because it's Lester, is, and maybe everybody can start working together. The Westies could be included in the investigation, or they could have something helpful. But now we have like a couple different sides and areas of the whole building that could come together to help it.
Yeah.
Especially
because he
Lester.
did a little bit of acting, like, like that kind of delve a little bit into that in season 3. So like, they've talked a lot about that. So I'm wondering too, if we're going to kind of go back to Broadway, New York a little bit. Like, I'm trying to figure out where else we're going to go. Where is this story going to take us? And who did he meet along the way? How did he get to the Arconia? And then I think, because I don't think we've seen Charles move into the Arconia, or really anybody move in. So it would be interesting to see their first interactions with Lester. And then, and I mean, I need a timeline. I need a board for this.
Get your sticky notes out, Steph.
I do. Yes, I have a bunch.
I do hope that they get Selena Gomez's apartment put together for next season, because I want to see how she puts all that together and how she decorates it and stuff.
I really liked that aspect of her in the first 2 seasons, or I guess it was the second season that she finished it, right? Yeah. So I think I need more of that. Like, when she drew a little pig on the wall, I was like, oh, that's cute. Like, I was like, that was nice. I needed that. Like,
I think the movie storyline isn't quite finished as well yet, because of the Bev Mellon took a phone call, and a mysterious phone call at the end just before showing Selena Gomez the door. So yeah, but there's something going on there. Maybe it's going to get cancelled. Get rid of it.
I felt like the transition to them finally reading Sazz's script too was like a little bit quick, because that all happened in the same day.
It was.
And I was like, that doesn't seem like logically in Hollywood that would have been what would happen. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, the writer, he was a murderer and he's dead now, but here we go. We have the script.
Right.
The show must go on.
I get that. Yeah. But also, you'd want to distance yourself from anything that guy did. And she did say, I fell in love with the first script, and I don't know where that's gone.
And the subsequent drafts were garbage, because the other guy was doing,
Yeah, I was nervous something was going to happen to the original script, too. I was, like, surprised, like, the script was just either on the bed or wherever it was in that apartment, and nothing ever happened to it ever since she pulled it out of the beer box. Which, when she got that, I was like, oh, there's something inside it. Like, I was like, what is it? So the script, I felt like that was a little weird, that transition, but, Yeah,
and I also, on that note, I agree with it. Even the discovery of Sazz's script was a little anticlimactic, because that's when the whole moment was supposed to happen of like, why do you have Sazz's script kind of thing? And it was just kind of like, well, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, I think them talking too about like Marshall, the writer, and pulling him in, I felt like towards the end it was like a bit rushed too, like even with that and Sazz's script. Like it would have been nice to have a little bit more tidbits of that along the season throughout.
Right, exactly.
Because I feel like that like hit that episode where it starts off with him and he's like being a writer, and like I felt like that was a little too on the nose, because I was like, oh, that can't be him, but here we are.
Show no.
But like even in those moments, like I wish we could have seen, like, even if it was just on his desk and they didn't really like mention it, but they show her copy of the script. Like I think there was little things they could have done, even to just show us, I don't know,
breadcrumbs.
Like little breadcrumbs.
I think of Breaking Bad. Who was it? Vince Gilligan, the showrunner on that. He's talked about seasons of Breaking Bad where people are like, oh, that's amazing that you planned this. And it's like, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes we're just great miners. Like they go back and dig stuff up. Like, oh, maybe this does mean something for later. I wonder how much of that was done with only murders.
Yeah.
If they had an end game, if they started with the end and then worked their way backwards, or if they're like, maybe this could mean something later. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And I would love to know, like, is there going to be a season 6 or is season 5 going to be it? Like, is this going to be the ending? And, are they going to tie up who's been trying to kill everyone in the Arconia? Like, maybe that's going to be the final. Because I don't want the show to go on too long where it's like, you can't have, like, 10 seasons and there's a murder every season. Like, it has to end at some point.
I think they've been clever so far with 4 seasons, going on 5, of how they can stick with only murders in the building without it being rehashing the same stuff. Yeah. But I'm with you. Like, I hope they don't die out, that they can end with a bang.
Yeah, because comedy-wise, too, like, writing can only, like, good writing, like, you need that, and it can only take you so far. Like,
sure.
I don't know. With that, do you guys want to dive into our ratings for the season? Out of 10, what would you rate this season? Like, where do you feel like it lies? Like, 1 being, nah, 10 being, that was, like, fantastic.
I'll give it a, I'll give it a 10.
A 10?
Yeah.
A 10, really?
Yeah.
A 10?
Okay. Wow.
10 might be a bit generous to Tyson, I'm not going to lie.
Because I often think of, like, could I have done
camera.
a better job? Do I know someone else that could have done a better job?
Oh, my gosh.
No, I'm not. Like I said this on your other podcast, Ian, the other Watching Now with Agatha. I was like, I don't know. Do I think Steven Spielberg could have done a better job? Do I think? Am I comparing this to?
You comparing it to the other seasons at least. Come on, Tyson. Stop copping out and just do some critical thinking. Come on. Every single series 10 out of 10. Do something. Do something, Tyson.
I'm trying. I think season 1 was the best because it was fresh. It was new. It was a unique concept and everything. Do I think that season 5 did a great job? Season 4, did a great job of going 4 more seasons after season 1 of this unique concept with unique characters. Like, yeah. So fuck you. It's a 10.
Fine.
I like assertive Ian. How can we get more of that?
So just so we're aware, so season 1 is 10. Season 2, 10.
Also 10, yeah.
So season 3?
We're not talking about season 3.
Fine. Okay.
Ouch. So that's a 0. Okay. Wow. This is interesting rating.
You are a very extreme person.
Yes, yeah. I love it. It's like
Live
all or nothing.
Either that or no. Yeah. You're a binary person. 1s and 0s. That's all you get.
Yes. What about you, Ian?
I'm going to go for a 7.5. I really enjoyed the series. And you know, it's light entertainment, isn't it? It's nothing like, it's not cinema. It's not like dog crap. It's light entertainment. It's just, I enjoy watching it. It's like a nice thing to watch whilst, I don't know, you're eating your tea or something like that. It's just lovely to watch. I like the mysteries. I like Steve Martin. I like Martin Short. And I like the Arconia. I like to be at the Arconia. And I want to see more of that. And hopefully there'll be a really good mystery for season 5.
To me, actually, I think it was a solid 8. There were some things missing, and it kind of lost track for me, but I'm not going to lie, the last 3 episodes really caught it up for me. Especially the Valley of the Dolls was just freaking hilarious and so good. And it brought everything back together. I agree with Ian. It's a fun watch. It's just kind of cozy. It doesn't feel like work, right? Like we had to watch it for this. Oh darn. You could just put it on, and to me, I don't want to be doing something else like crafting or something in the back and having it in the background. That's more for
or eating tea.
No, I can eat and watch it because I can still pay attention, but like I want to be able to pay attention and catch everything happening. And it's fun. It's great. The writing is just beautiful. All 3 actors and the actresses in it, and the main ones, are just phenomenal. Obviously, we've talked all about how good they are and how one thing we didn't mention was how Selena Gomez just keeps up with them. Like I know we mentioned that she can't comedy them, and I'm so glad she doesn't try. But she keeps up with them. Like her acting chops next to these 2 definitely stands out, which is something to really be appraised.
Well, and I like that she's not this like woke young adult. Like I like that she is kind of more of like an old soul and kind of able to connect with them. I was teetering on like a 7.5 or an 8. Like I feel like I went with an 8. Like it was a solid B. Like I think this season, like it wasn't my favorite, but it was also nice to be back in the Arconia and not just be on the stage. I was worried we were going to be in LA like a lot of the time. So I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. But yeah, I definitely enjoy watching it. I need to be focused. I can't have it on like in the background. Like I'm with you. Like I need to be able to find out and I also feel like this show is very casual for me. Like I feel like I'm interested in knowing who the murderer is, but it's not like I need to know. Like
right.
Yeah. That's a good way to say it. It's a really good way to say it. It's pretty casual because it's like I really want to know what happens next season, and it'll be fun to find out, but like if I missed it, I'll catch up on it later.
Yeah. And they have an interesting method too of like, it's not the final episode usually that you find out. It's like the second to last. And you're like, oh, okay, so let's find out why.
Like, see the resolution, in the last episode. Yeah.
Game of Thrones started doing that. Well, I don't know if they started it, but I started paying attention in Game of Thrones because the 9th episode of every season is when the big stuff happened. And then they had another episode of the cleanup, and then the season ended.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing everyone say is that this series has a little bit for everyone, right? It touches on the older crowds, like me. It gets the younger. It gets the
like me.
The mystery side. There you go.
Yeah.
It bangs on a lot of cylinders to making it a comfortable tea time episode or series.
Yeah. It definitely does. Yeah.
I usually watch this with my mum and dad. I'm not going to lie. They're in their 70s. So.
And do they enjoy it?
They love it.
You know what? This is going to be a very brazen comparison, but I kind of compare it a bit to Ted Lasso. In wholesomeness, in audience you can watch it with, in the casual, lighthearted. Like, I kind of put it in the same category as that.
I agree with that. Yeah, because it's sometimes like I wouldn't call this like a family show, but it definitely is. Like,
sci-fi
it's like
family.
PG-13. Like, it's a little bit, yeah. Like, it is so. Oh my gosh! Like, even going back to like season whatever it was, when Charles is young and sitting on the bench outside, and his dad is doing whatever in the building behind him. Like, you don't have to see any of that. Like, I feel like stuff these days, it gets hard to watch because you're watching something or like, oh, I can't watch this with my family because that scene. So this show, it is like a breath of fresh air. It's just comedy. Like, it is just storytelling. It is just the drama. Like, it's nice. Yeah. It's a good show. And I can't wait for season 5. When does that come out?
That'll be at least a year, right?
Next week? I need more.
Yeah, it'll be next year, right? Surely.
Yeah, probably.
Surely next year.
So.
I hope so. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today on this. I was wanting to talk about this show with someone, and so now I got to. I'm so
There
excited.
are no dates yet for season 5. It just confirmed that there is a season 5.
Okay. It is on their IMDb, so it is happening.
Yeah, it is. No, I enjoyed this. I'm glad you put this together. Thank you. I'm glad we were able to watch this and get together and talk about it because I don't see a lot of marketing about it, to be fair.
No, you really don't. It's, you know, if you want to watch it, if you haven't watched it, which I don't know how you're here, but, you know, if you're one of those people, you know, you can watch it on Hulu. All 4 seasons are streaming. If you liked what you heard today, you can like us and subscribe in the comments below. You know, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. You can also join us at Couch Soup and become a member. So you can go to couchsoup.com and find us. And there's a lot of nerdy people like us and nerdy content and lots of fun reads. So you've got, if you want to learn more about the Grimfest that we were talking about, you can check out some of the articles there. I guess this is the end. So until next time.
No, there's a lot of content on Couch Soup. So any nerd, anything that you feel like isn't being covered enough, we have you covered. Anime, pop culture, movies, shows, games, you name it, we probably got it.
Yes. I'm just curious what we're going to be watching next.
Oh, look at you. Oh, that was such a good segment. What are we going to be watching next on Watching Now?
Or Watching Now next. I don't know. That one sounds a little weird. I feel like
Watching Next Now.
No, Next Now.
No, this is just stupid.
All right, with that, thanks again, you guys.
Yeah, Ian. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. See you later. Bye.
Bye.